So I'm going to start with our district attorney, Kamala Harris. And if you could start off by telling us, because most people think of the prosecutor as someone that's going to put them in jail, not help them when they get out. And your view is different in the sense that, I mean, you are enforcing the laws and prosecuting individuals who are charged with crime. At the same time, you believe that there should be programs available to help people turn their lives around. Can you tell us about your philosophy and perhaps why it's so uncommon?
Sure. I mean, I'll share with you all, and you all, I'm sure you know, are a very different audience than the audience I speak with when I went to the National District Attorneys Association annual meeting. But I'm going to talk with you a little bit about this issue the way I talked with them. And it was in this context. DAs, elected DAs, are the chief law enforcement officer of their jurisdiction. And our primary responsibility is, therefore, to keep our community safe. So when we think about the plan and our responsibility for keeping our community safe, certainly traditionally we think about it in the context of locking up people who harm other people. And often you'll hear DAs talk about it in the context of locking up people for as long as you can. But if you consider that nationally, the statistics show that only about 20% of serious and violent crime results in an arrest. If, as the chief law enforcement officer, you are only thinking and planning for a safe community in the context of locking people up for as long as you can, you are necessarily falling short of your responsibilities, because a vast majority of the crime does not even hit your desk in the first place. So for that reason, is it not a legitimate, if not imperative, responsibility of the district attorney to have a plan not only for effective prosecution of serious and violent crime, but an effective and real plan for crime prevention? Is it not the right thing to do in the context not of what we want to do for poor people or marginalized people or people because we want to do good work? Let's not even talk about all that. Just in the context of public safety. Is it not the responsibility of law enforcement to engage in a meaningful discussion and plan around crime prevention? So then in that context, let's talk about the work that DAs do and the very unique carrot and stick that we have. I often say, the mother or the auntie or the grandmother can encourage some young person to go to school, get a job, be responsible. I can encourage that same young person to go to school, get a job, be responsible, or go to jail. And that's a very unique incentive. And so then what do we do about that? Okay, what do we do with that dynamic? What we should be doing is we should be thinking about reentry. Okay, reentry is a relatively new criminal justice concept. I know you've heard a lot about it. I give great thanks to Supervisor Mercarimi and our public defender, Jeff Adachi, for putting the summit together and bringing us all together. Reentry is a concept that it's really, it makes perfect sense, right? We know statistically when folks come out of the system, they go right back in. So what's our plan? Not in terms of necessarily thinking about rehabilitation. Again, you guys are DAs from around the country, from Biloxi, Mississippi, and places like that. I'm not going to talk to you about what it's right to do in terms of necessarily rehabilitation. Let's just talk about reducing the fact that a known individual will commit another crime against you if we don't do something about it to prevent it from happening. Public safety. So let's talk about that. And then that's how, and in that spirit, that we designed out of my office Back on Track, which is a program where we have focused on really some of the gateway crime among adults, which is drug sellers. Okay? So, and we're looking at the 18 through 24-year-old population. And the way we've designed this program is to say that we are going to take them who have, in San Francisco, a recidivism rate of 47%. And we're going to look at what we can do to re-enter them into the community in a way they can be productive. So, long story short, that individual gets picked up for selling drugs. That individual is arrested. That individual is charged by my office, because I would like to suggest, as the prosecutor on the panel, that we should design these programs with an expectation that it's not only the right thing to do, but that we're going to require folks who benefit from these plans to be accountable to themselves, and be accountable to their community, and take responsibility for themselves and their conduct. So in Back on Track, we designed it in a way that, yes, they'll be charged. Yes, they're going to have to plead guilty because they did commit that offense. But we'll delay sentencing, which means that the conviction has not occurred. And then they can voluntarily agree to be in Back on Track. Back on Track is a program where, with our partner Goodwill, they go to Goodwill. We create a life plan for them with their help, which includes, what's your educational status? What is your housing status? What are you doing in terms of your parenting? Because a lot of these young folks are parents. What are we doing in terms of helping you to parent your children, including getting involved in your children's education? A great partner in Back on Track is the Department of Child Support. Why? Because a lot of these young folks have kids and they owe money for child support, and in a lot of the situations, reality is that the mom is saying, you can't see this child until you pay child support. So everybody's losing in that dynamic. So Karen Roy, the Department of Child Support Services in San Francisco, is a partner in Back on Track to say, let's look at your plan and mitigate your payments if you're in this program. Look at perhaps eliminating your arrears so that you can get back on track with your child support payments and be the responsible parent that you want to be. Wells Fargo came in and gave us checking accounts for the participants because we expect them to have jobs and pay their bills. The Academy of Art University, call them up. Will you give us some scholarships? Sure. So we have a person, for example, in Back on Track who was picked up for selling drugs in the Bayview. She pled guilty for selling drugs. She got in Back on Track. She now has her GED, and last year she completed last semester at the Academy of Art University with a 3.8. So that's about, and as far as I'm concerned, why am I doing it as DA? It's not because I was raised in Berkeley by parents who marched in the civil rights movement. It's not because I went to Howard University or because I'm a Democrat. I'm doing this because I'm a DA. And I believe in smart public safety. And to do these kinds of programs is about smart public safety.
Thank you very much.